Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Fulfilled Life podcast. Today, I am super excited to be interviewing one of the dopest creative female entrepreneurs that I have ever come across. Her name is Esosa, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right because it's such a beautiful name.
Esosa.
Esosa, yes, I got it right. Thank you so much for being on the Fulfilled Life podcast. This is a space I created to highlight creatives, entrepreneurs, lady bosses, and fearless-minded individuals to share with the world their steps on creating a life they love. Today, I'm so honored to be speaking with Esosa, aka the Raw Girl, about her journey into living a life she loves, making her own path, and pursuing her dreams. Welcome, Esosa. Woo woo.
Thank you so much. That was such a dope intro. I was like, oh, who's she talking about? I was like, let me look in the mirror real quick.
I know that's right. I mean, you are so amazing. So you're a clinical nutritionist. You're the founder of Stay Ageless. You're a writer, director, actress, and producer, and costume designer. Let's just say you are living your life like it's golden. So the first question I have for you is, tell us about your roots and how your early upbringing helped mold you into the woman you are today.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm Nigerian American, first generation born in the States, and my parents came here for their college education, and then they had us. I was born in New York. And I guess, the immigrant upbringing is classic. Like it definitely instilled in us like hard work, perseverance. My parents are really big on education. The thing about, immigrant parents is that a lot of times they're not very, because they're in survival mode and they're just they want to do the best for you. They a lot of times don't want you to veer into sort of artistic or things that seem to them as unstable career paths. And I was all about that life. So it was pretty comical. I think I remember at one point, like, having this like negotiation with my father where I was like, yeah, I want to do fashion. And then he's like, you mean computer science? And I'm like, graphic designer? And he's like, you mean computer programmer? It's just like so funny. Like, but I don't know. I think one thing that has helped me, because I noticed that I'm not everybody's like this, and it makes me sad for people who aren't like this, but I'm like hella stubborn. So like when I set my mind, I've always been like this, and like when I set my mind on doing something, I never let their voices deter me, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be living the life that I'm living right now, and I also wouldn't be living for me. And I know so many people who fall into the trap of trying to please other people and follow careers that their parents like sort of push them into, and then they wake up and they have this whole midlife crisis and they have to like reevaluate. And I'm just glad I didn't go through that path.
Yeah.
I had other struggles. There's the struggle of like, there's a struggle in general when you have a really big vision and you have to wait for it to come to fruition and actually listen to what God is telling you and what the signs that are coming and do the work. Like that's the real struggle. But to me, that struggle, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many tears you cry, no how many challenges, doors slam in your face, that's the kind of struggle I want to be in, because I feel like that's a struggle that honors my purpose.
Yeah.
Versus me being somebody who literally is living a life that is not for me, and I'm not honoring my calling or my gifts. And that to me is the biggest sin. Yeah. So that, it's funny because it's like, do what they do and not what they say is kind of what is kind of what I did. It's just like I just took that same heart and I applied it to what I wanted to do, even though it wasn't necessarily what they felt like I should be doing.
Yeah. And I love everything you just said. And I agree with you 100%. So many people get caught up in their parents' vision, societal standards, what's going to pay them the most money, instead of really understanding who they are, what they want to do, and then doing the hardest part, doing it, despite what the world says, despite what your parents want to put you in a box. Because, from their mindset, like you said, they grew up in a different time. So it's like, you know, these are the careers that pay the money. This is what you should do because it's stable.
Yeah.
Everything you just said. And to get to that point of honoring your soul's purpose, I think is the highest level of living, because when you get to that point, it's just like you begin to unleash nothing but light. I mean, like everything touch prospers, and
yes,
a sun for everyone else. Like everyone else is going to unconsciously, even they see you and there's something's going to spark within them that's going to turn the light bulb on. And that's what we're here to do. So I love everything you just said. And I appreciate the honesty and authenticity. The next question, what do you think, if you could describe yourself in one word, what would it be and why?
Resilient.
Okay.
Resilient on many on many levels. For me, actually, resilience is the true measure of health, meaning like if something horrible were to happen to you, how quickly can you bounce back? That actually really shows you how strong your body is and how actually healthy it is. Mm-hmm. I've had many health challenges, but I've also had a lot of close people die in my life, like people I was really close to or loved, you know, pass away early. Yeah. And so I've had like a lot of the things that have pushed me to be emotionally resilient, mm-hmm. and to push past the limits of what I thought was possible for me. Yeah. Or possible, you know, like sometimes we're in our own mental cages and we don't even realize it. And we're just like sort of in victim mode. And I've had a lot of moments that have really just snapped me out of it. Like, look, girl, like it's now or never. You either go get your life together and make some stuff happen, or you go sit here and whine and nothing's going to happen for you and you're going to live small, you know? And so I've always chosen, even if it's scary as heck and it's not exactly fun, I've always chosen the harder thing, which is like having a bit of courage. Mm-hmm. And something amazing always comes out of it, because you learn more about yourself, you learn more about what's capable for you. And it just always opens up new possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that. Do you think, or what is the one thing that really lit the internal fire for you to start you on your wellness journey? Like, is there one event, or was there like a series of experiences that you had that really got you going in that direction?
That's a great question. I feel like it might have been a series of events. I feel like, so I had a cousin who passed away. He was someone who passed away when I was young, prematurely. He was about to get married and everything. He passed away. Wow. He was really, really fit. And I remember him being a vegetarian for some reason. Okay. And I was like, that's a little weird. But then I was like, I kind of want to be like him. So I had sort of started like being a vegetarian. And my parents were like, what is going on here? And then I got rid of most things and was vegan by 13. So I just decided to be vegan really early in a really weird way, because I'm also in an African household, which clearly the word vegan doesn't even exist. Okay. Like, they're like, what? My aunt, actually, when I have this aunt who still calls me a Vega, she's like, Esosa, you still a Vega? Like, what's a Vega, auntie? Like, really? Serious? So yeah, like they don't even know what the word vegan means, you know what I mean? And I like literally was doing this like that young. So I started then, and then I kind of, even though I was vegan, I got to like, by the time I got to college, I was just really unhealthy, like a lot of junk food, sugar, just not eating balanced, not eating whole foods necessarily. Yeah. It's just very possible to be a very unhealthy vegan. Actually, it's probably even worse when you're an unhealthy vegan, because there's certain key nutrients that your body needs that you're not getting. So I went and visited a cousin who happened to be a raw foodist. We're still cool. Like, I see her often. She has a dehydrated walnut company now that like she sells these dehydrated walnuts. Yeah. But yeah, she was a raw foodist, and she was really good friends with the actress Angela Bassett, and they met at a raw food retreat. And so I was hanging out with both of them, and I was like, yo, like these women are inspiring. My cousin she was like, around that time, she was in her 30s. Everyone thought she was in college. They would ask her if we were both in college and where we went. And I was like, shut up. Like, this is funny. years later, the tables turned because she started eating meat again, and we went for a walk, and somebody asked her if I was her daughter.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, you see what happens? You see what happens.
Wow.
Yeah, so like hanging out with her was like enlightening, like, and inspiring. And she was like, you know, you need to eat a salad every single day, and you need to do this, this, and this. And I kind of went back to college like, okay, like that was interesting, but like I'm back on the meal plan. And then like and then like after college I had like after college I went to an acting conservatory, got an acting conservatory. I was doing like trying to make films and act and model, and my skin was a mess. Like it was just a mess. I had acne everywhere, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. I kept having to take naps during the day. I had like chronic fatigue. It was a real big problem. And so I was like, yo, like something has to be done about this. One, I can't even be in the entertainment profession with skin like this. Like, this is a mess. And I remember being like my first Essence magazine shoot where the editor came up to the makeup artist and was like, can you cover this up? And like was like pointing, was like pointing at my blemishes, and I was like, this is really a low moment. Like, you're gonna have to do something about this, you know?
Yeah.
So I just like threw out everything in my cabinet. Like I had Proactive, I had all this random stuff that was supposed to be helping me with the skin stuff, and I was like, something ain't right about this. I have a feeling I have to deal with this internally, and that what you do internally comes out on your face. And I don't even know how I figured this out, but I guess after years of trying the other way, I was like, clearly that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So something must be going on inside. And I'm glad that I was able to pick that up. So I enrolled in this raw food course in Harlem called Raw Soul with these two amazing black couple. They were glowing. They were amazing. And they taught like raw food prep and stuff. And I took their class and I was like, yo, I'm trying to get my skin better. And they were like, well, you're probably nutrient deficient, and you probably need to eat a lot more seaweeds and different things and blah, 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 which they were right.
Yeah.
So I just basically took a month, and I ate no processed food at all. I ate completely raw. I made Rejuvelac, which is like a fermented wheatgrass. I think that helped restore my gut flora a bit. And within 1 month, like my skin was clear. Even all the scarring was off my face. I also did visualizations and all that stuff. I really do believe in that stuff, and I tell my clients to do that too, because visualization is powerful.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly, if you're sitting in a space and you're trying to, you feel like you're not healed, you have to, like, there has to be something that takes your energy to the place of believing that you are already healed, that your healing exists, even if it's not in this moment. And when you tap into that, it's going to accelerate your journey. You're either going to stumble upon things that are going to help you, reach that healing or whatever. So, so that was that. And then, after that, I had a few other things happen health-wise where, like, I figured out that I had parasites, and I learned about parasites, and I started doing cleanses, and, it just kept going from there. But when I was living in New York, and around 2009, I moved back to Virginia, and I started a health blog because because now my skin was really clear. It was actually like glowing all the time, and people were like asking. Thank you. So people were always asking what I was doing, and I was like, yo, it just has to do with what I'm eating and, whatever. And so I started a blog just basically to not have 3-hour conversations in a checkout line, like, hey, go check this out. Like, I just wrote about this supplement. You could go read about it, So that's kind of like how I got to there. And then as the blogging continued, I was blogging outside of my other career, which is as a actress and producer. And I was always doing the blogging sort of as a hobby. And then I wrote a couple books. I wrote a book called The Acne Free Diet. And then I ended up writing another book called Got Veg when I got into my master's program. But I got to this place where I was like, okay, if I'm going to be writing books, and if I'm really interested in this, like, something is here, right? There's a deep interest. Like, I'm a little obsessed. I read a lot. Perhaps I should just go get a degree, because when I was going through my own healing journey in Brooklyn, I spent a lot of time hanging around Black healers like Queen Afua and there's this guy named Dr. Natural and all these other people. I used to run into them all the time. I never knew why I was running into them all the time, right? And then I would go to these raw food conferences and there would never be people of color on the panel. And most of the people looked like they were vitamin D deficient or B12 deficient, trying to tell me how to live my best life. Right. And I was like, I want to be a living example of this. And I also don't want to be somebody who gets to old age and knows how to cure AIDS and cancer, but no one can listen to me because I didn't take the time to get the certification and the knowledge to understand how the body actually functions. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, let me just go get my master's. I knew I wanted to focus on holistic nutrition. And it took me 5 years around my other career to finish my master's. I finished it last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I mean, it's been quite like people will be like, it's so funny. I was on live yesterday and people will be like, oh, I want to be a nutritionist. So what do you? And I'm like, it's a really long ass story. Like I literally spent about 15 years, like, you know what I mean, studying in various capacities, either on my own or in a school. This is not like some sort of like fly by night hobby for me.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to tell you what to do, but if you're passionate about it, I think you'll figure it out, you know?
Definitely. And I love that. And I wish we had a lot more time. I still have some more questions, but I just want to say, wow. So you met Angela Bassett. That was one thing. How was she? I bet she was so like just dope, like just so fun and so down to earth. Did you have any interaction with her?
Say that again?
Did you have any interaction with her?
Yes, definitely. And I didn't mean to even drop that, but she's actually a part of the story. So like, but she actually is I would call her one of my first ageless sheroes. Like that woman is freaking incredible. Like I've met up with her before where she was running on a treadmill and having a full conversation with me, like while running on a treadmill. I was like, this woman is freaking amazing. Like, awesome. Like at full speed. And you're like, double my age. You know what I mean? Wow. So I'm like, okay, let me like get my life. Like it was
amazing.
I think that was one of the first things that probably got me. She was one of the first people I think that because when I met her, I think I was around 18, and I think she was one of the first people who got me thinking about like longevity and just the idea that someone can be because I didn't have a lot of good examples in my family, so it's kind of like to see a woman who was like of a certain age but like taking really good care of herself and then also like really fit was really inspiring, because I was like, oh, like I don't have to accept this idea that all my like I'm just gonna like not have energy, not be fit anymore.
Yeah.
I can't have the body I want. All of that was thrown out the window when I saw her running full speed on a treadmill and talking to me without blinking. You know what I mean? I was like, dang.
Oh my God. That is so amazing. To me, it's just like, how God will place certain people and experiences and events like in your journey to give you signs about like how he wants to use you. And I just like, I'm happy that you were awake and conscious and listening to the inner promptings and paying attention to the signs, because all of those events that unfolded like got you to where you are. And I just think that that's amazing. I know for myself, I became vegetarian at like 11, but I didn't make the switch to vegan until about 10 years ago. But now I'm ready to go into raw, like plant-based, like raw food, like raw everything, So I just admire you so much. And I'm so proud of everything you've been able to do.
Oh, thank you.
So you're welcome. And tell us now about this passion that you have for staying ageless. How did you have a program? Tell us about your course, your program that you created, just a little bit about that and why you're just so passionate about it.
Yeah, so the program is called Staying Ageless 30 Plus, and they started from, I guess I just pinpointed where it started. I guess it started from watching Angela Basketball post me on a treadmill. But yeah, and then I started finding all these other women who were incredible. And later I got to interview some people. I interviewed like Bernardo Payo when he was 109. I
Wow.
interviewed Annette Larkins, who they
She's
call the
awesome.
ageless woman.
Yeah.
She is fabulous. Okay, like she is fabulous. I interviewed Mimi Kirk. So there was like all these people who I started finding, and I was like, oh my gosh, like they're all. I started to see the commonalities between them. I started to see, okay, so these people take their rituals really seriously. They all have really gangsta things that they do every single day to take care of themselves. And the only difference between them and somebody who's not that extra, not just an ordinary person who doesn't end up looking amazing, is that they don't get tired of doing it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the distinction between them. And so for me, like, staying ageless came out of my passion because I personally was like obsessed with like studying these people, trying to figure out the latest longevity research, and also like trying to just take care of myself the best way possible, because I felt like I started this in my 20s and no one else around me cared. Yeah. And now all of my now all my friends and family are like, what have you been doing? And I'm like, I've been doing it this whole time. Yeah. And y'all were over there saying YOLO. And I was over here like, yeah, YOLO, but I need to take care of myself because I don't want to like, deal with the consequences later. Because we set the foundation for our mental health, our physical well-being, everything in our 20s and 30s, usually, actually. So I got into it because of myself. And then I had, after I got my master's, I spent maybe 6-7 months seeing over 300 clients-ish a month. It was a crazy client load. They all had chronic conditions: diabetes, hypertension, GERD, sleep apnea. I saw everything. I saw things that I didn't even know existed. I learned medical terms that I didn't even know existed. And during that process, I realized, like, wow, I want to go back and create my program. And I realized, I really like working with women. I really like working with women with over of a certain age. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I have something to offer them. Okay. And that's when I was like, let me go back to my program now that I'm a clinical nutritionist, and now that I like have like a very clear idea of how to get someone through a healing process. Yeah. And part of my job then was also as a behavioral coach. And so I learned how to get people to create healthy habits. Mm. And so I was like, let me combine these things, like all this longevity stuff, the behavioral change, which I feel like is the biggest part, because a lot of people know what to do. Some people spend a lot of time on Googles and they can get confused because there's too much out there. And so I try to save them money and time by being someone who has done the work. And so I can do the research and help you with that. Right. But then some people actually do know what to do. They just can't seem to do it long term. And so the class is kind of for both kinds of people. It's for people, the women who come in usually have a range of goals. Some people are only there for weight loss. Some people have diabetes. Some people have hypertension. Some people are dealing with addiction. I've had a couple people dealing with alcohol lately. Okay. Adrenal fatigue, different things. But at the end of the day, we all are just trying to get to that longevity, that longevity goal of like living your best life, hopefully snatched.
Right. I'm telling you.
Right? Hopefully snatched, hopefully have the energy, not just how we look, but because a lot of Black women can look amazing and still have really serious chronic conditions. Yeah. So this is not just about like, I want to look amazing. It's like, I want to look and feel youthful. And so that's what the class is about. It's 8 weeks, 4 weeks of it. I teach people, I assess their health. So they meet with me one-on-one, and they also meet with me in groups for like learning about habit forming, about getting the nutrients your body needs, like fundamentals. And then in the last 4 weeks, we put that into practice. And the reason why we do this is because it's a learning and doing class. And I don't believe in anyone leaving my presence without being transformed. I consider myself a catalyst. Yeah. And so if you come in contact with me, you either going to be inspired, you're going to go home and get a green juice, you're going to do something. You ain't going to be leaving out here.
I know. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to put it into practice for the 4 weeks, and I've been very, very impressed. Like when people do the work, the results are amazing, because our health is the foundation of everything. It affects every single area of our lives. It bleeds into everything. And so when you start to get disciplined in one area, it starts to affect everything. Your business improves, your relationships improve. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, I've been really excited about it. and the women who are coming in. It's a lot of fun for me to work with these clients. Like, these are my favorite clients. So yeah, so that's that. And then my next class starts very soon. It starts on June 30th. So the registration for it is going to end by the end of this week, and I might have some stragglers into next week.
Okay.
But yeah, the next one is June 30th.
Do you have the class every month or every other month, or do you have a schedule posted for it?
So I don't have a schedule posted for it yet. I do think that I'm probably going to do another one in September. I might be off in August, but I'll probably do one in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Let's see. God, I had so many questions, but I can't ask all of them. So you make moves both on and off the screen. So I wanted to find out, I saw that you did a one-woman show a while ago called The Woman Who Would Become King. What was the inspiration behind it? And do you feel more passionate about acting and producing, or more passionate about wellness?
Oh man. She's going in. Okay, so the play, The Woman Who Would Be King. So when I decided I wanted to be an actress, I've made a list of roles that I wanted, the types of roles I wanted to play, and I've actually played several of them, but I'm not someone who sits around, and I knew that this industry wasn't necessarily going to be like welcoming me with open arms, like, we understand you. Like, so I got very involved in the producing and writing and all that stuff as well, because I knew that I was also going to have to make my own content. Right. And so I got actively involved in that. I've been obsessed with one woman and one man shows for a really long time. One of my really good friends is Roger Guinevere Smith, and he did the Huey P. Newton story. He did Who Shot Bob Marley.
Oh, wow.
He's done like a whole bunch of one-man shows, and I basically stopped him for a while until finally he was like, yo, you should really just do something.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was thinking about it for a while, and one of the roles on my list was I always wanted to play an Egyptian queen or someone from Egypt, because I always felt like those movies were always concerning to me and disturbing, because I didn't understand why there weren't people of color in them.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm going to do that one day. And then I was like, I came across this woman, Hatshepsut, who was the first female pharaoh, not just queen, pharaoh. And I was like, this is gangsta. Wow. And like, who do you have to be to decide in a time when a society basically tells you that women are only supposed to be relegated to these things, and you have no blueprint for what's possible for you? What kind of person do you have to be to just say, I'm going to do that? Right. You know what I mean? And I was like, that's gangsta. Yeah. So that's like really what drew me to her, because I feel like, I feel like I have a similar kind of desire to like, just be in my own. I love what you said in the intro about me, because that's exactly how I feel. Like, I'm in my own lane. I'm not out here trying to compete with people. People be trying to compete with me sometimes, and I think it's funny, because I'm like, yo, I'm over here in my own world that I have created for myself. I have these standards for myself. I compete with myself. Yeah. I actually don't get motivated by competing with other people. Yeah. So Hatshepsut was just fascinating to me, and I was like, this is the one. And I've been wanting to do a one woman show, and I can't wait for someone to cast me as this. So I wrote it and I performed it, took it to South Africa, did it at the Kennedy Center, did it in Uganda. That's cool. Yeah, and I may be doing it again sometime soon. The director actually asked me if I would do it sometime next year in New York. So we shall see. I know no guarantees, but we shall see. It is a lot of work. I can imagine. Yeah, and then the second part of your question was, which one am I more passionate about? Which I'm just like, dang. So here's the thing that's really weird, right? I mean, I feel like I'm really passionate about both. What has happened, though, there's a difference. It's really weird. Like, I really feel as though I really love I love creating stories. I love creating something from nothing. I think that's a better way to put it, because that could be anything. You know what I mean? Like, that could be a business, that could be an idea, that could be a movie, that could be whatever. What has been really interesting during this last year is I feel like because I wasn't planning to be a nutritionist.
Okay.
Right? I wasn't planning any of this health stuff at all. So, like, literally, it fell into my lap, and then I just kept reading stuff. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't, and I'm very type A. So, as you can imagine, for my other career, I had very specific goals and all this stuff. So, when this got kind of put on me, and then also when my clients are getting healed of diabetes and hypertension and losing all this weight, and all this stuff is happening, and the value and the response that I get from the nutrition side is something that makes me know that God intended me to do this as a calling. And that's a completely different thing, because I don't really, it wasn't like, I woke up and I was really passionate about it. It's just something that I've just always been slightly obsessed with, that now has turned into more of a passion, I guess, because I'm more of an expert now, right? But it snuck up on me. It wasn't like I really want to, like, I never was planning this. So that's the part that's really interesting to me. And I'm letting it go where it goes, because people are always like, so where are you going with this? And I'm like, I don't know. I literally just found this shit out yesterday. Like, I really had no plans. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm letting it unfold where it's going. I'm still super passionate about entertainment. Entertainment frustrates me and excites me all at the same time, because it's so much like rejection and so much perseverance and so much etc.
Right.
But I have committed myself to keep creating content that I want to see and be a part of that. And that's what keeps me going, because I know that I can make the ideas in my mind come to fruition. So I'm still attached to projects as an actress, still producing stuff, still like writing stuff, and we'll see where all that goes, and how it all converges.
That's awesome. Okay, so I'm down to, let's see, like the last two questions. And the last question, the first question I'm going to ask you is, what do you want to be your greatest contribution to humanity?
You ain't going light, huh?
The last question light, though. The last question is light.
My greatest contribution to humanity. I mean, I feel like it would be really, I feel like singing Kendrick Lamar right now. I just feel like I don't really think I feel like, honestly, my really deep belief is that the best thing that I can do, and this is something that I've always lived by, which is the best thing that I can do to honor God, to honor myself, is to not be the person who takes the talent he gave me and buries it. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if he gave me 10, which he did give me he gave me a lot, right? And so for other people, it's a little confusing, because it's like, oh, she's doing all this stuff. And it's like, listen, like, I got given this stuff, and I'm not going to bury it. Yeah. I'm going to do everything I can with it. And I want to feel used up when I leave here. Yeah. I want to feel like I want to feel also like I plowed, like I did the work, like I got in the field and I did the work with the stuff that God gave me. And that turned into something beautiful, whether it was a garden or whatever it is, right? I recently came across this term called eudaimonia, and it's I think Aristotle came up with this term to kind of describe like true human happiness, but it basically just describes like flourishing into your best self, like basically self-actualization in a way. And that's where true happiness comes from. And I feel like that makes sense to me. Like, the money is cool, all the other stuff is cool, but at the end of the day, if you still left some stuff in the closet that you haven't put out on the court, like you didn't play your A game, you're not going to feel successful. That's not going to be a successful life for you. And so for me, it's like, I got to put it all on the field, and I got to, like, even when I don't feel like it, I got to do the work to cultivate the gift, because the gift doesn't necessarily make you a genius or make you someone that actually has a lot to contribute. It's the mining of the gift that makes you someone who has a ton to contribute.
Definitely. I love that. And do you have any, I wish I had more time and could ask these other two questions, but I know we got to go. Do you have any last minute advice or any last minute tips, anything you want to share with the listeners?
I guess, I mean, what I always tell people is part of the reason why I love nutrition and wellness is because I've seen how it bleeds into every aspect of my life. And if you're in a situation, even if it's a toxic relationship or toxic job or anything, you can actually use the power of nutrition to transform your circumstances. And it sounds crazy, but the energy that you're consuming is affecting what's going on in your life, what's going on with your thoughts, everything. And so I really love just that power. If you can, combine like getting your mind right, focusing on your mindset, and also putting things in your body that show that you love yourself, because there's a difference between saying you love yourself and there's your actions. And if you are someone who's constantly consuming things that are like taking you down the path of disease, then you have to get to the root of what's going on there, because there's something happening where you're not valuing your temple, So my whole thing is, use the power of nutrition, use it as a catalyst to give you the energy to go for your wildest dreams. And I feel like that's what it should be for everybody, and that it has the power to propel you if you let it.
I love that. Now, how can the listeners get in touch with you or contact you?
My website is therawgirl.com. My blog is linked there if you want to check out my blog, which is rawgirltoxicworld.com. And then I'm on Instagram at the Raw Girl, on Twitter at the Raw Girl, and on Facebook at the Raw Girl.
Awesome. I really, really enjoyed this interview, and I hope you did too.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you for the hard questions.
Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.